Welcome to our Shamans Directory live community event. Thank you for all being here and sharing your time with us. I am Yumi Beckers from the Netherlands, and I'm one of the founding members of Shamans Directory. And I feel truly honored, and I'm so glad to be here with you today and be your host. And I also welcome you to say hello in the chat, and you can let us know where you're viewing from and to settle yourself in your sacred space, and so that you can be fully present to receive all the wonderful wisdom that our guests will share with us today. And for those of you who don't know Shamans Directory, we are an online global platform dedicated to bring shamanic earth-based services to the world's doorstep. We are inclusive to original people, First Nation healers, and modern-day shamanic practitioners. We are a nonprofit created for healers, teachers, clients, and the curious to offer global access to shamanic healing and teaching, and to contribute to the preservation of traditional and indigenous wisdom across the planet. So we welcome you all to join our community and visit our website on shamansdirectory.com to learn more. And we also hope that all of our offerings through our directory will inspire you to add shamanic wisdom and healings into your everyday healthcare routine. Now, please let me introduce our special guest and member of Shamans Directory, Mary Olivar, who will be speaking around the theme honoring our shamanic heritage. So Mary specializes in supporting people and businesses in harmoniously aligning with their true purpose, potential, and power. Her professional adventures have all been founded on promoting healing plants, vibrating healthy living, and an awakened consciousness. A graduate of the Power Path School of Shamanism, Shamanic Studies program, Mary has completed their advanced practitioner training. Mary has studied in Mexico with the Huichol and in Peru with the Shipibo. She's a member of the board of directors for the Center for Shamanic Education and Exchange, whose work perpetuates the shamanic wisdom, culture, practice, and traditional ways of life of Indigenous people worldwide. Mary is also a community leader for Shamanism Without Borders, the global response network of shamanic practitioners who tend to traumatic events. She has been a featured speaker at South by Southwest and at the Society for Shamanic Practice annual conference. Deeply rooted in the nurturing vibration of Pachamama Earth, Mary primarily uses her voice to offer healing and tending. Mary particularly enjoys supporting people in reawakening their power and bliss through simple daily practices to deepen their innate love for nature and remembering their core connection to all life. So that's a whole body of work. Thank you, Mary. Welcome.
Thank you, Naomi. It's always a pleasure to be here. I so appreciate this community, its welcomingness, its inclusivity, and its dedication to supporting us all through sharing and learning and communing. So thank you so much for this chance to share today. The element of what I do that I'm really most excited to talk about and share more about is my work with the Center for Shamanic Education and Exchange. And this is a nonprofit that was founded in 2009. So it has a nice longevity and lots of track records. And what we do is we work directly with Indigenous communities and fund projects that are ideated and directed by those communities themselves that focus on the perpetuation and continuation of their spiritual traditions. So this includes ritual, ceremony, and knowledge transmission, particularly from elders in the community, the spiritual elders, the shamans of the community, to the next generation. These projects also are focused on benefiting those communities themselves. So it's a very beautiful model that allows for something that I feel like is deeply important for all of us. As I've really sat with why this work is important, several things have come in for me. And there's a lot of sense of, yes, we should honor Indigenous wisdom, and yes, we should listen to our elders, but I really leaned into like, why is this important? like fundamentally on a large scale, particularly when we step outside of these community circles and we're in the larger world who may not be as deeply in resonance with the work that we understand and that we value as shamanic practitioners and people on the shamanic path. I think about what is happening collectively, and I look at what is happening on our planet, and particularly in the modern world. I live in Austin, Texas, so I'm very much in the middle of America, and I see so much of a desire and a need to reconnect. There's a lot of words around remembrance and reconnecting, because many of us in our modern practices in our modern world feel disconnected, whether it's to our own personal heritage or to each other or to the earth. And yet there are peoples who have been in continuous connection, been in deep listening and continuous conversation with the earth and with the natural world for eons, for generations and generations, and for a long, long time. And in that relationship, as we know, there's such deep wisdom. And there's really what I believe is the medicine that is needed for the whole planet. So I picture all of humanity in our big, giant human family tree. And I see these communities as being what is holding down the unsevered taproot of humans' connection to the earth and to nature and to spirit. So the work that we're doing at the center is really tending to that taproot. And we can get into lots of discussions about which way the tree can grow and who gets to eat the fruit and this and that and the other. But the work here is really nurturing and protecting and honoring that deep root of all of humanity. So I believe it's very important work. I believe it's important energetically, and I believe it will continue to be important on a very tangible and practical level as we support these communities in sharing more of their prayers and their knowledge and their vision, and lean into allowing ourselves to be led by them more and more. So that's really at the core of the work that we do at the center. And that also is some of what I'm going to talk about today, particularly through the art and the beautiful artisanal, spiritual, holy crafts and sacred objects of these communities. So I have some slides to show, I have some pictures, and I'll use those to talk more about some of those programs and the work that we're doing.
Great. I really look forward to seeing those slides and yeah, really get to know about all of these projects that you're involved in with your organization. And it's also beautiful how you share the vision as well of the organization, because I think it's such an important part of your work. It's really important that you're bringing this out into the world. So yeah, please go ahead and share what you
Thank
have
you.
to share. Yeah.
You. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share a little bit, an overview of the different projects we have, and then I'm going to talk about 3 specific projects and share artwork and crafts from those communities. So I'm going to talk about the projects that the center has been involved with in the past year. We are in a beautiful growth mode. Have funded more projects in the past year than ever before. And our goal is to continue to share more about these projects, to create platforms and use our own platform to tell the stories that the communities wish to tell and share, and also to expand into new communities, new countries, and even new continents. We've been primarily focused on North America and South America. So we currently have projects in Colombia with the Kogi Nation. We have projects in Guatemala with both Mayan elders as well as Itza. And then we have ongoing projects in Mexico with the Wixarika, and also known as the Huichol people, and also in Peru with the Shipibo Conibo. And we have a new Quechua project in Ecuador with the Saurakayu people. So these are new programs. Some of the ones that I'm not going to be talking about as in depthly, but they're mostly around elder wisdom being shared with the next generation, particularly focused on language. And the main piece that we're really going to use as a framework for the way we're discussing and honoring these communities today is in their expression. And a lot of this shows up as art, but language as well deeply embodies the beautiful relationship and the cosmology and the way that we speak about the world around us also not only informs us about that world, but about ourselves. So those programs in Guatemala and Ecuador that are really emphasizing both language as well as other ritual and traditions are an extension of some of what I'm going to talk about with art. And I invite folks to sign up for our newsletter. Maybe you can put that in the chat. But we can find us at shamaniceducation.org. And if you go to that /sign up, we send about one email a month, and they always include links that include more about these projects and the work that they're doing there. So thank you for posting that and sharing it. So one way to think about the artistic expression, particularly from this lens of shamanism, of communing with the world around us, is it is a way to anchor the spiritual and the ethereal into the material, to bring the world of our imagination, which is where we co-create with spirit, into a physical manifestation, and to do it in a way that honors both the beauty and the creativity of the natural world of Pachamama. So the first project that I'm going to share about, and I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So let me click the necessary buttons for that. And I'll bring this into a slideshow. Okay, so here we are, the Center for Shamanic Education and Exchange. Let me go back to that one. Oh, I'm learning here. All right, and that's where you can find us if you haven't already hit the page and signed up for our newsletter. And as I shared, we're really focused on tending to our collective spiritual root, the root of what it means to be human and connected and in relationship to the world around us. So the first project, and this is one that's extremely dear to my heart, is with the Kogi Nation. And if you're not familiar with the Kogi people, they live in northern Colombia. And some people consider them one of the most intact pre-Columbian cultures in the world, maintaining deep roots, deep connection to their original traditions. It is believed that the Kogi are directly descended from the Tairona, which was part of a large civilization that flourished in northern Colombia around 1000 AD. So they're direct descendants of that. And that mountain range that they live in Colombia is the highest coastal mountain range in the world. So there's a lot of elevation changes and different microclimates between the ocean and the peaks there. So many different ways for them to connect with the natural world and with Pachamama. And they consider where they live the heart of the world. And much of their beliefs and work involve around that relationship with being in deep communication with our earth, our planet, our Pachamama, and also honoring her through pagamentos, through payments, through offerings. And much of the community is directed by the mamos, or mamas, sometimes they're called as well. And these are typically the males who are identified very young and brought up to be the leaders of their communities. In the place where they live, there are multiple villages. So there is not one single centralized unit, but different villages with different leaders and different focuses and specialties. Some of those mamos are identified, as I shared, very young, and will spend the vast majority, if not all, of their upbringing for like 9 to 15 years in the dark, in caves. And this was very interesting for me when I first heard it, because as you may know, the word shaman from the Sami people in Northern Europe means one who can see in the dark. So it's interesting to see this cross-continental commonality of the shamans, the leaders, being the ones who are able to see in many worlds. So if you start to learn about the Kogis, they're becoming more and more visible as they step forward and talk about what is happening collectively, what is happening with humans and our relationship with the planet. And they have deep wisdom to share, some cautions, some alerts. They tend to call modern humans little brother, and they've come forward to start to let little brother know that we have not been good relationship with our beautiful mother, and to teach about how we can step back into that. So the sanhas are the holy women. Sometimes they are referred to as translated as like a spiritual midwives. So these are the women who are holding the mysticism and the teachings around what happens in women's bodies and our relationship with our beautiful Mother Earth. So much of this involves the birth portal and the different ways that women, as the female embodiment of Pachamama, are holding great wisdom. So, and I really love this picture that we have here. For me, I can really see a great depth of knowledge and power, of alignment that is held in this beautiful woman, in this beautiful face. So sharing a little more about that. Here is a video of the Kogi, sharing so you can get a little sense of where they live. I love the affection that shows up in this. And you can see pictured here these bags, which are very much a part of their life. It's an object that is part of the initiation process into being an adult. It is received. And we've been lucky through our work with the Kogi to receive some of these bags for them that we'll be using as part of our fundraising. So I'm going to talk a little more about the project itself, and then I'm going to share more about the significance of these gama mochilas, these little backpacks that are also called gamas by them. So in that the Kogi are spread out over their community. One of the initial parts of this project that was presented to us, and to reiterate, we don't go in and say like, hey, we think you should do this, or here's a way to make money, or we think you should start to reflect our values with our work. We are really in a piece of receptivity, and it's a beautiful model that the center holds. We show up in support. And I'm continually learning better ways to do that, to not bring in my lens of I think you should, or any sort of pushing, but to be very much in a model of receptivity. So the project that was presented to us was in partnership with a young man who his mother is one of the sanhas, is one of the holy women, and he also both speaks the Kogi language as well as Spanish, so is a good bridge person for our contact in Colombia who's worked with these communities. And so one of the initial parts of this work was for him to go around to the different villages and find out, is there a woman here who's holding that knowledge? Is there a holy woman? And because there's no centralized system, and to find out who she is, and also, is there someone that she is teaching? Does she have an apprentice? Is this knowledge being carried on? So after doing that, and this was directed by the mamos, directed by the leaders of the community, and as such, the project is not linear. It started out with an intention, but it also evolves as these things happening. Sometimes we like to say these projects are on Indigenous time and Indigenous goals, where we're not like, this is where we're going and these are all the steps, where they allow it to unfold, and it is directed as such by the local leaders. So in this project, after identifying the various sanhas and the apprentices, they held a gathering of them, which was the first time in anyone's knowledge that all of the holy women had come together to commune and be in circle. And I know for myself personally, I deeply, deeply benefit from my time in circles, and particularly from my time in circles with women. So it made me really honored and happy to think about really the first gathering of Kogi holy women to sit around and share with each other and exchange. So the next phases of the project are to continue to ensure that there's a common point of support and communication between the holy women, both in the exchange of the knowledge that they're holding, and also the chance for them to be even more furthered honored by their own communities and the Kogi Nation, to ensure that they have ability and the support that they need to transmit their knowledge to another generation. And then a further phase of the project is to bring some of those women down to southern Colombia, to the Putumayo region, to connect with other indigenous women from southern Colombia who are not Kogi, who no longer have retained these the mysticism, the spiritual aspects of midwifery and birth, and of being in a woman's body, and all of the beautiful things associated with this. So it will be an indigenous to indigenous transmission, north to south, which feels really lovely. I'm going to talk a little bit about these bags that I've referred to, the gama machilas. And we have an article on our website, which is actually co-authored by one of the mamos, which feels really special, which talks specifically about these bags and what they represent. So as I've come to learn more about the Kogi and the way of life, much of whenever we look at new projects that are coming in, we're focused on, is this a spiritual project? Is this shamanic? Is it focused on that relationship to spirit, to nature? And is it also a project that will benefit this community specifically? So when we pose that question of, is this shamanic, is it spiritual to the Kogi? I mean, as we looked at did our own inquiry on that, there's nothing outside of their actions, their life, that is not connected to spirit. So these bags, and I want you to sort of think for a moment about your own life and start to perhaps reduce the attachment to all the things you might have, and feel what it's like to move as a person through the world, and how important it is to have a vessel, to have a container, to have something that you can put something in. It's one of the most fundamental pieces that allows us to step into our human action. So these bags are deeply important for collecting sacred plants, for collecting what is needed to function, to be a human, to be well supported. So they're made from a particular plant that is sometimes called an agave hemp. It's my understanding is it's neither an agave or hemp, but it's a blend of these things that grow in the region. And there's a beautiful partnership that happens between men and women in how these bags are produced. The men go and gather the fibers, and then the women weave it into the thread, and they spend one moon cycle making the bag. So in the bags that were sent to me which was very amazing I must say, to open a box and to receive objects from very far away, from mountaintops in Colombia, and they smell like smoke in the forest. You can see on them where they've just tied it off and stopped with wherever they were in making the bag. And so while these are functional bags and they're very strong and they're sturdy, I consider them sacred objects, for they hold a month of the Sanha's lives. They were made for us by the holy women who are gathering as a thank you for the support that we've given them in various ways through this program. And they represent both that partnership between the male and the female, the masculine and the feminine, and there's also deep intention that is woven into these bags as they create them. It's a rite of passage to receive them, particularly when you receive your first one, indicating that you are a person of ability to gather these. So, and the video quality I have here is not high level quality. We're deep in the mountains and the jungle where these are taken. There's not access to electricity or technology. So this is a special intimate glimpse into this community. And this is taken from the gathering of the Sanhas as they were there. So you can see them at work with these bags. And you can find some of these. We're posting more of these videos on our Instagram, Shamanic Education. We also have a YouTube channel. So if you wish to see more of this work, that is available. And I just invite you to not only from that place of feeling the level of importance of what it is as a human to have one of your first objects and how you use that, to also feel into the making of these objects and allow it to bring a little more of awareness into what you touch and what you hold. And I think that's one lesson that's available for us right there, a deepening of appreciation of what we are carrying and what is the meaning of it. And can we give more meaning to it? Can we perhaps simplify into a space of less things with deeper meaning? So we will, as I shared, be offering some of these bags as a fundraiser for this project and for future projects. I must say again, like when I opened the box of them, it was just like an incredible energy to welcome into my home when I received them. So it's going to be very exciting to share these sacred objects. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and talk now about our project in Peru. So this has been a nice long-term project we've had with the Shipibo Conibo community, the Curran Metsa School. The main Onanya, which is the Shipibo shaman who we work with, is a wonderful man named Enrique Flores. You can see him pictured here on the left, and I also have a picture of him with some of his children and grandchildren, as well as his wife, who has passed, Herlinda, her mother there. So it's just a wonderful community, a wonderful extended family. And the way this program works is youth from the community are supported in learning directly from their grandfather, from Enrique, or from their father, depending on where they are in the generation. And so the Shipibo live in the Ucayali River basin in Peru. And the Ucayali is a feeder for the Amazon. So this is an area that's extremely rich in plant life. And the Shipibo Conibo are just masterful in their connections with plants and their understanding of plants. And a traditional way that they have communed with plants is to do diets with them, or dietas, or samas, different words for them, Spanish and Shipibo. And this involves a period of fasting, and fasting with a very simple diet, also fasting from other external input. So a lot of silence and contemplation as they consume these plants and a plant tea. And I know often when we hear about this kind of thing, we imagine it's going to be wildly psychoactive, and they're going, which is possible for some of these plants, but there's also a great deal of subtleties and a great deal of different kinds of wisdom that this vast array of plants hold. And so we support these apprentices in the school, these students in the school, to have the resources that they need to step away from their more modern life and to take the time to diet in the very special and traditional way of communing and learning with the plants. And it's been a tremendous joy to get to know these students over the years and watch the way that they blossom as they step into their power. So here in the slide in the top, the three, we see the three teachers who are part of the school, Enrique on the right and his two children, Pascal and Magda, over there. And then below them are Pascal with some of the students from the school. And then also on the right is Edith in her beautiful gold outfit. She's a senior student at the school, and she's just absolutely lovely. She also teaches some of the younger ones and holds a great deal of wisdom. She's Enrique's granddaughter, and she's here with her great grandmother, Manuela, who actually passed last year. But it was also a wonderful contribution and a community family member. And that's one of the things that we navigate in our work, is the realization of time and elders passing. We actually have a project in Guatemala where the main elder just passed earlier this week. So we do feel there is an element of urgency in getting these programs funded and going and sharing, because this is beginning to slip away, particularly the languages, the deep knowledge. So it was an honor to have spent time with Manuela and for her to be there with her family and her legacy continues, as does her daughter, Herlinda's. So here's some more pictures. Here's Enrique looking a little more casual, teaching about some of the plants that they diet with on the left. And on the right is his son, who goes by Henry, but also has a Shipibo name. Henry has a beautiful video on our Instagram, which is at Shamanic Education, where he introduces himself by a Shipibo name and also sings a song. So you can find more of here. So it's just really beautiful faces and people, and it's been a joy for me to get to know them better and to ask them, like, what do you want to share with your world, the world? What are your goals? What are your goals for your community? What are your goals for the world? And there's such an open-heartedness, such a joy, and the place where they live has a lot of blooming, a lot of flowers, a lot of opening, and you can see that reflected in the community as well. There's such a joy that they bring forth. So here are some of the art objects, these shamanic sacred objects that they have there in the Shipibo community, and these may be familiar to some people. They sometimes are called telas, which is simply Spanish for cloth. Kene is a more traditional word for them. And as the Shipibo diet with plants, one of the elements that they often work with in terms of how they receive and connect with the wisdom of the plants is through song, through melody. And there's many beautiful teachings around this. And if we look around the world, there's a vast number of creation stories, whether they're biblical or Hindu or Peruvian or Celtic, that honor sound as the beginning of the universe. And my understanding of the Shipibo creation story is that the anaconda was swimming through the void, was swimming through the nothingness. And she turned and saw the patterns on her own back and began to sing them. And as she sang and brought vibration in, that vibration became physical form. And the universe was created, and the earth and all of the different aspects of it. So from this particular lens of the Shipibo, as I have come to understand it, there's really not a great differentiation between the physical world, these visual patterns, and sound. These are all just different sensory experiences of the same medicine, of the same energy. So often in these communities, when you have these beautiful kene, you can ask, what's the song? What is the song of this? And they'll touch this cloth and start to sing the song of this particular cloth. And in that song, in that melody, it is also containing a vibration, a prayer, a blessing. Often that prayer, that vibration is also associated with a plant or an animal ally and the qualities that they may bring in of protection, of energy, of growth, of cleaning, of healing. So these cloths are considered very healing. You may have seen in some of the other pictures, we'll go back, that they wear them on clothes. Also, as the women will wear these cloths as skirts. You can see some of the men wearing some vibrant long ones called kushmas, which are part of ceremony. Here we have women also wearing them as skirts. So it is very appropriate to put these on your body, to wear them as clothes. You can also use them as altar cloths, as I have here. You can put them on the wall too. I have many in my house, and it's an absolute joy to see them, to receive their prayer, to feel that vibration, and it brings me happiness. So right there, it's very healing. You can feel the energy in them when they're there, and some of them will have more literal representations of the plants themselves or of the ally themselves, perhaps an animal. You see the one on the right is honoring the chacruna plant through its imagery of the plant itself. And I also like to, when I see, particularly, I'm going to reference the one on the right, these designs. And I believe those ones there are of tobacco, which is considered extremely protective. As you may know, tobacco is considered by many indigenous people of the Americas as the master teacher plant with its great power that it holds. Its ability to clean, protect, to bring energy to. And, even if it may sound unusual to you that tobacco is a strong medicine, you can certainly honor its power, as it's been a very powerful plant in our modern world as well. And often, used in a way that was not in relationship, not in intention. And, one of the cautionary tales of working with powerful allies is if you don't do it with respect and honor, it can have detrimental effects, which we, see as tobacco being potentially very harmful to people. So I'm looking at this pattern, and I invite you to tune in to that pattern that is on the right. And I hope it's large enough on the screen for you to do so. And I'd like to imagine almost like energetic pipeways in my own energy field. You can see them represented in the 2D, and then start to imagine that in 3-dimensional or even a multi-dimensional way, where the medicine of that plant, the medicine of that ally can come in a multi-dimensional sphere, cleaning, protecting, bringing in energy, which tobacco is very good at all those things. And it really enriches that piece. It really enriches your ability to receive the medicine of it. And also, if you're a practitioner, I feel like it's a beautiful way to start tuning into our different energetic fields through the medicine and the lessons of these cloths. So here is a short video of a woman making one of these, so you can see a little bit of how they're doing them. These are all hand stitched, and I'm trying to move that. Yeah, so you can imagine it's a lot of time. Some of the more traditional designs are woven, but many of the more modern, vibrant ones are, stitched onto an already existing cloth. You see here she is putting a jaguar on. She has a snake. And this is a common, practice in the women and the children and the men even in learning how to do this. And here's a very vibrant cloth, which is a little bit less of the traditional design. It's working with several different plants there, as well as the tinaja, which is the pot, which you see in the 4 corners of this. The tinaja is considered, it shows up in a lot of Shipibo artwork and imagery and mythology. It's like this original pot, which can be clay pot, which can be birth all kinds of magical things, and you can also put prayers into it. So it becomes a vessel for working with both with your prayers and with shamanic practice, a container for a lot of good ceremony. So this is one of my personal cloths and one of my favorite. Also, here's an example of the ally of the hummingbird coming in. You also see the plants represented, the beauty of the flowers, and then another ally showing up behind that hummingbird itself in the different patterns. And you can feel into sort of the way the patterns, at least for me, the way those patterns show up also have a protective quality to them. Again, imagining them in our energy field and our different energy pipelines, it starts to create some structure and some protection, allowing for energy to flow, but also providing some protective barriers and pathways there. Oh, I see the chat is ignited, which makes me happy. I want to just check and see if I've missed any questions. Okay, thank you guys. So beautiful to see so many folks tuning in. Okay, so I'm going to share a video just of some of the Shipibo youth in this community that we work So So as you can see, these cloths are worn on the body for protection, for good health, for good energy. Very beautiful, joyous, vibrant people. And these are like they're teenagers, and I would be really thrilled if my teenage son was participating in such activities. Okay. I'm going to tune into the chat. Oh, can I speak more into the patterns? Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to go back a little bit. So I was hoping to have more images of the patterns to share. In our chat, Naomi's put the Center for Shamanic Education, so shamaniceducation.org/shop. And so that has a lot of examples of different cloths that we have from this community that we have for sale that you can access. The funds from it go back into the nonprofit and go into these communities, the various projects that I'm talking about. So it's interesting to sit down with some of the community members and once you have the cloths and find out what the medicine of them are. So all of the ones we have on our website will also indicate what the specific prayer of it is. Tobacco is one that you see very, very regularly. As is ayahuasca and chacruna, some of their main plants. This particular community also works with other plants called ranakia, boahuasca, kamalanga, chiricsanango. There's a whole category of signangos, and each of those have different qualities of healing and protection. Sometimes it's more for the mind, sometimes it's more for the body, and you can like I said, it's been helpful for me being not being from that community, but still wanting to work with these beautiful telas, these beautiful kene, to be in a meditation or a contemplation, and even to invite into my own energy field the visualization of these. And there's a lot of various artistic expression in the cloths of the kushma and what the woman is wearing as her skirt. Those are more traditional designs, and there's more artists that are working in have a little more, as we evolve, as art does, as we step into more creativity. There is more of an artistic expression here, but I'll show you a cloth that I have right here that combines both the imagery of sort of a more modern, literal representation of the hummingbirds, as well as the flower in the center of a plant. And I believe this one is chacruna as well, honoring the medicine of visions and imagination and creativity that chacruna brings, also the wisdom of it. And then around it is surrounded by more of that sort of a space of creating space, so protection in the body. So you could work with this cloth on your altar for clarity during healing. You could work for it during an altered state or a medicine journey, and to work with protection for the body while you're allowing yourself to expand the mind. And, like many allies, these cloths can work with our own intention too. So you can work with them repeatedly, infusing them with meaning for yourself. But as I shared, all of the cloths on our shop talk about what the medicine of those cloths are. Yeah, and I know I just mentioned like working with them with altered states, so that includes drum journeys. There's some beliefs that healing happens when we're in an altered state, whether we're in a trance, whether we're working with a substance or a plant, whether we're in a drum journey, allowing ourselves to step outside of that piece of imprinting, of normalcy, of what is ingrained, into a place of greater perspective, allows for a shift that we can then step into when we return to our more 3D life. So I'm going to peek at the chat again. Okay. Thank you. I really appreciate all of these wonderful comments. Okay. All right, I'm going to go on and move on to the projects that we have in Mexico with the Wixáritari, Wixarika Huichol communities. And as I shared, we're going to, we have more of these. We're starting to step into better storytelling, so more of this coming on our social channels and also through our newsletter. So the Wixárika Huichol people, as you may be aware, are native to Mexico. And there are many areas, many different states in Mexico where they live. So most of the art that I'm sharing here is from a particular artist that we're going to have a feature on in our next newsletter, Benigo Carrillo Batista. I also call him Bruno because that's how I know him. And I've known Bruno for about 5 years. And he's a beautiful Wixarika Huichol artist. And he lives in Real de Catorce, but he's originally from Jalisco. He also works with his family. So similar to the Shipibo, a lot of the work that happens is a community work. So sometimes there is a lead artist, but there's also many times both with the Shipibo and also with these Wixárika artists, it'll be a community project where one person will start and another person will come in. So it's a different sense of what is ownership. And as you may have sensed in these many of these communities, it's more of a community collaborative sense. But I do put Bruno's name because he's the head of the family that we work with. And yeah, I'm very honored to do so. So there's a lot that we can say about the beautiful teachings of the Huichol, and there's much written about it. But they're often a people of pilgrimage. So they work with both the mountains and the sea. The place that I understand that they're originally from is more in the mountains. They also are deeply connected with the peyote plant in Huirikuta, the peyote garden. So some of the work we have done is with organizations that are seeking to protect that land, specifically focusing on the Wixárika involvement there. So this is a particularly beautiful piece, and I'll talk a little bit about how these pieces are made, as well as some of the meanings behind them. But I want to share first a picture of Bruno and his family, his little girl and her cousin. His wife is in red next to him. So just a really lovely people. And this picture was taken in Real de Catorce, outside their home and their shop. So these Huichol yarn art are made by taking typically a piece of wood. They also have started doing more things. These are not yarn, these are beadwork, where they take an object and will cover it with wax or some kind of resin. Wax is what I typically see them work with. They can be very colorful as well. Here's a little very colorful lion. And they'll then take yarn or beads, as the pieces I just showed you, and thread by thread work with a sharp tool and push it into the wax to hold it. And from my understanding of these particular artisans that I know, they don't sketch it out. There's not really a master plan, but Bruno, at least, and his family, it unfolds as they make it. And he's connecting with the visions of what he's had during ceremonies, and also working with his relationship with the allies, with the particular birds, with the snakes, with the sun. The sun is tremendously important. And for the Wixárika people, the sun and abuelo, grandfather fire, tatawari, as is referred to, is featured prominently in many of the pieces, such as this one beside me, which was nice to work with during the eclipse that we just had here in Texas, the big solar eclipse, and feeling into the immense power of the sun. Even when the sun is covered up almost entirely, it still can light up the whole world. So the sun is featured prominently, as Kayumari, the blue deer, who is the first shaman, the first Marakame, and where Kayumari walks is where the peyote grows. Also very present is the bird that brings water, which you can see in the upper, actually that one looks more like a hummingbird, but some of these other images will have the water bird being, a people of primarily the desert, but as well as sometimes the ocean. Water is deeply important. We'll also see in these images, you can see in the lower right corner, there's what looks like a stick with some feathers. And that's a moviary, which is a healing tool. And also to the left of the sticks are some very pointed objects, flechas or arrows, which are often offerings for prayers. Here's another very intricate piece where we see the peyote and the representation of the sun featured very prominently, as well as the moviaries and the embodiment of the people. The marakames, the shaman, are showing up. Corn is also featured prominently. And many of these pieces will also include writing on the back, talking about this piece, talking about the meaning of it, talking about the elements. This one I found particularly striking to work in black and white. We see a beautiful eagle above the bowl shape, like the moon, that's holding, is an offering bowl that's holding different things. We also have represented the sort of diamond shape, which is sometimes called ojos de Dios, the eyes of God. We have the serpent represented. We have the deers down below. We have the fire down below. We have the feather pieces with offerings. So these are just hold a tremendous amount of medicine, a tremendous amount of intention and relationship. They're very beautiful to have in the home. So most of the ones that I'm showing pictures of are about 2 by 2 feet. And I don't know off the top of my head what that is, and other measurements. These are so these are yarn, and we actually have it's not in our on our website quite yet, but we have these pieces for purchase. They're large and they are incredible art pieces, but they we also have, and they take about a month plus to be made. We also have we've been in partnership exploring how we can generate more funds to the artists, so we have some prints of these that'll be available with a good portion going directly to Bruno and his family. So that's being in the works right now, but if you stay tuned to our newsletter, you can find out how you can order some very high quality art prints of these, that where you can actually see the detail of these pieces and zoom in and see the yarn itself in these. So another beautiful picture with a lot of vibrant energy in it, featuring the peyote, the sun. And so much of the peyote work is around honoring the gift of medicine, the gift of expanded vision, the gift of strength and energy. So there's a lot of what they're crediting. So as the ones I've been showing are all yarn, and here are some of the beadwork that is quite beautiful and intricate. We also will have prints of some of these beadwork as well as these actual pieces, and they hold a lot of intricacy to them, and they're really just a joy to be around and exceptional. So these are physical pieces. Like I said, we'll also have some prints available, and these are coming to our website soon. But I just wanted to share them, even though they're not available yet, because they're just they're really beautiful. And it's also, you can see into the meditative practice of, as I shared, taking something that is liminal, that is part of our imagination, that is part of what we have connected with in the spiritual world, and allowing it to come into form with its beauty and its creation and the way where it's unfolding and developing. So here's a picture from Bruno's studio in Real de Catorce in San Luis Potosi, Mexico. A really exquisite jaguar piece, and that piece is about at least 1.5 feet. And the beads are very small, and there's a picture of Bruno showing how he does the yarn. I've got a video of him creating a yarn painting, and this is a small one that he's demonstrating with.
Hay muchos estambres, algunos más grandes, sí, unos más delgaditos, entonces es mucho.
So one of the
Ahí varían los precios. Entonces cuando se lo juntamos esto por, mira, sí, lo podemos hacer, esto ya queda más grande. Pero esta es la más delgadita, sí, la más. Entonces es más trabajo porque vas a pasar como 2 o 3 veces.
So one of the things he's explaining is the level of intricacy that affects the price of the piece. And if you're using a thicker yarn, it's less work, but using the very thin yarn and creating a finer level of detail, it takes a lot more time, takes a lot more skill on the part of the artisan. So those are some of the different aspects. So we'll be sharing more about that in future ones. And here I'm sharing is just one of my favorite ones. This one's smaller, and it's such a beautiful relationship between the sun and the moon. I feel like it's also particularly relevant with the eclipse that was through much of the world, at least in North America, and it was a full eclipse where I was, which was extremely beautiful and powerful. So it gave this piece even deeper resonance of that beautiful balance between masculine and feminine, between the day and the night, and the sun and the moon. So a lot of similar to the Shipibo pieces, when you have them, there is an opportunity to work with them as sacred objects. Same with the mochilas from the Kogi, and to allow, just as you would with an ally, to allow yourself to step into a place of contemplation and relationship and ask, like, just to compliment and to say, like, I really want to learn from you. What can you teach me? And to honor those smaller precious moments of where these pieces come from and the lineage that's behind them and the wisdom, and an invitation to step in and to learn more and to open ourselves up to them. Okay, so I'm going to take a minute to review. Yeah, beautiful. So asked a little bit about the prices on some of these. It varies greatly. The Shipibo cloths that we have, the smaller ones, can be $30 or something. That's is very, very accessible. And then the range up to these, which the larger pieces, which take the family over a month to make, are over 1,000. So those are for the in-person, the real ones. Then we also have prints available. And I got a question about the Kogi bags, the sacred objects there. Those will be several $100s. We're working with the folks in Colombia to also honor, like, what they were a gift to us, like what would feel appropriate for them as we are fundraising for future projects there. And hi, Robert. And if it's yeah, I may have missed some other questions. There's one more about the needles. I don't know what kind of needles they use. The Kogi, yeah, I don't know. The Shipibo, when I have witnessed them making it, they're using a metal needle. They're more connected than the Kogi to the modern world. So there's an opportunity for them to work with modern tools. But the Kogi is that's a good question. And I think I'll look more at the videos and see if I can tune into that. But yeah, so thank you for asking. Any other questions so far on what I've shared?
Well, I just want to thank you, Mary, for this beautiful presentation. I really soaked it up all in, and all these beautiful visuals, and hearing all the backgrounds of each tradition as well. Some of the things I really didn't know about. So it's really, very enriching to see all these artworks come alive. And I want to ask you, like, as an organization, you support these communities through artworks. Are you also supporting them in another way?
Absolutely. So all of the communities, the Kogi is through direct funding that we have. So for the Kogis, for example, we weren't doing, like, sharing the bags wasn't part of our original project plan. They just presented with a project, and we are funded through donations predominantly. The beauty, we're an all volunteer board. And the beauty of working directly with Indigenous communities is donations go a very long way. So we're able to fund projects, some of them for, $5,000-$6,000, which is very small in the scope of philanthropic work. But it really has deep resonance in allowing there to be a continuous shamanic tradition in the future. So certainly these objects are one way that we're able to do some fundraising, but we also take direct donations. We're a 501c3. So for Americans, it should be tax deductible depending on your circumstance, but typically is. And the art is just such a fun way to tangibly connect with these heritages. And as this is still something I'm learning a lot about. So I'm looking forward, particularly with the imagery and with the things I was asked around the symbology of both the Shipibo cloths, and also as I'm beginning to delve into these Wixarika yarn paintings. This is relatively new territory for us to start to share these ones. So I'm learning too, and I'm looking forward to being able to speak more about the symbology and the meaning and the myth that is behind them and the cosmology that they represent. So it's a joy to start to delve into this. So more to come and to be shared on our website. I also have and if you go, I could put the link after I take it off share mode, but there's an article that we have that speaks specifically to some of the imagery in the Wixarika Huichol art, and a little bit more about the meanings that I've shared of the Peruvian artwork. So if you go to the Learn section on our website, that has a lot more on it. I'd love to play a song blessing from Cali Flores. She's a member of the community that we work with in Peru. Her grandfather, Enrique, is the main teacher, and her mother is Magda, who's one of the teachers at the school as well.
Llámara mi abuelo mi hakun katano para que mi hakun no copi, muchas bendiciones del universo y con mucho amor para toda la familia. Bendiciones con mucho amor a la medicina del universo. Gracias, muchas gracias, y Raquel, thank you very much.
So you can feel the medicine of the songs that are held, and a lot of that is represented in those cloths too. Thank you everyone for receiving this. Yeah, if you want to tune into that, it's on our different social channels. And and as Tara mentioned, I don't know how to pronounce your name, but seems you'd want to know what images mean when you purchase. Yeah, we have all that on our website. It's included in each of the designs. So yeah, it is nice. I often find though, people, if you just look to what you gravitate towards visually, that winds up being the medicine that you need. So I encourage people to choose by what feels good to your eyes and to your body as you receive it. So okay, and I think I've just got one more closing, just sharing again where to find us. But I'm going to go ahead and stop my screen share. And happy to take any further questions or conversations and to share any more. And I know that was a bit much that we went through quickly. But yeah, it's such a joy to share. So I really appreciate the chance to step into this with you. It's been an absolute honor and a privilege for me to be a part of bringing resources to these communities and their beautiful open hearts, the beautiful work, the commitment that is so inherent in their life, in their prayers, in the way that they walk, their commitment to being earthlings and honoring the earth and honoring our great mother, and allowing that to pour through them and how they live and how they create.
Thank you, Mary. So beautiful, and that you're doing this work aside from your, as a practitioner as well, and that you're putting all your energy into this, and it's so beautiful to also, exchange these works of art and these cultures, with other peoples as well. And I just want to ask you a few more questions as well, Mary. And of course, the audience is still welcome to ask more questions. I think like also in these times, people are more interested and hungry for this sort of wisdom. And I just want to ask you, and you covered, of course, a little bit already about it, but why is it so important to honor these shamanic heritages of indigenous peoples worldwide?
Yeah, that's a question I've been really in deep inquiry with, because I feel like it's important for each of us to really step more further into our why, rather than taking it for granted, and even like, why do we say hello to the earth? Why do we love her? Why do we say hello to the sun? And allowing yourself to really be receptive to that. And so that's something that I find deepens my own practice, to connect with your why, connect with the vibrations, the frequency, the values that are inherent in yourself. It allows for an alignment of heart and of your deepest prayer. One thing I really love to encourage people to is like, what's your prayer? What's your bigger prayer? What's your bigger prayer? And allowing that inquiry to say, like, what is your big prayer? Why do you love the earth? Like, yes, we know she feels good, but to acknowledge every part of your own human self as a being of the earth, and as a being of nature. And as I shared, so much of the work that I see with my own clients, with the world around us, is in the sense of fixing, of repairing, of remembering, of reconnecting. And what a joy it is that to be able to connect with and witness communities where they're not needing to remember because they haven't forgotten. They're holding that complete embodiment of what it means to be children of earth, and it shows up in the way that they love each other, and the way that they walk, and the way that they share in their hearts. And it's been a great honor. So that's where I am, is, as I've shared in the earlier, it's tending to that unsevered root of our connection to the earth. And I'm a big earth mama. I love this planet. I keep coming here again and again because it's just so beautiful. And so for me, it's my personal piece is providing more access to resources for these communities to direct in the way that they wish, to honor their own values of community, and to learn from that, learn for their leadership, to bring in a way to honor their leadership, and to allow myself to be a better listener, and to be guided more by that. So it's part of my own inquiry, and I invite people to really step into the work that feels like purpose alignment, and allow yourself to articulate and name why that is in alignment for you. Someone asked if we have any projects or art objects from Chile. Not yet. We're happy to connect with more communities there. If you go to our website, at the bottom, there's an apply for a grant. So that's very specific to Indigenous communities. We look at projects that are benefiting the community themselves rather than a particular individual or one healer. We're looking for something that's more comprehensive in terms of allowing and supporting the wisdom to be shared and retained across that community. We also are looking to work with people who have that really an Indigenous heritage that they're working with, rather than a lineage from a teacher, someone who is in an Indigenous community and in that larger group of indigeneity. But I'm happy to chat with more. I'm going to put my contact in the chat for people to, if people want to connect with me directly, you're also welcome to reach out to the center with those kinds of questions. And I have some upcoming art shows in the Austin area, so where you could see some of these pieces in person. So that's another place if people wish to come be a part of that, they're welcome to reach out to me directly, and my contacts in the chat.
Great. Thank you. Do you have maybe some things as you were tapping into about the prayer for everyone, like to ask that why question, like how people maybe can tap into that furthermore, or what kind of ways they can do, big or small, to honor that sort of shamanic heritage in the world, and yeah, deepen basically that root. So you maybe have some suggestions that people could do.
Yeah, I mean, I prefer practices that are simple and profound. That's what works for me. You know, I live in a modern world. I live in a city. I have children. I need to be at places by a certain, artificial construct called time. So how do I retain that for myself personally? And obviously, we love being out in nature. We love witnessing the world around us. And it's just taking the stillness, taking that simplicity that I spoke to earlier when we were talking about the bags. And I was like, oh, think of all your objects. Think of the ones that are really, truly important for your work as a human. And so in that idea of simplicity, go be outside. And even if it's a patch of small land, or even if it's just outside your doorway, and it might be the imprint of human all around you, you can take a breath, you can say hello to the sun, you can breathe and remember that with those breaths, you're in a physical exchange with the plants. You can feel the earth under your feet, even if you have shoes on, or even if there's pavement there, and allow that your own beautiful energetic taproot of your connection to the earth as your earthling body. Feel into that, allow it to be deep, allow your attention and your imagination to easily slip down through the different layers, honoring what has been there before, honoring the intelligence of life that is there now, that has been there, allowing that taproot to extend all the way down through the crust and the mantle and the core. And these are things that we can do very quickly. We can do them, spend time doing them, but it's always there regardless. Allowing the upper part of your tree body to feel the breeze, to connect with the sun, and beyond it, the stars, the light of the beautiful mystical moon. Allowing yourself, I like to do this with my first glass of water every day, to infuse it with my prayers, to greet the directions as I hold it, to pour a little of that first drink of water onto the earth or into a house plant if the earth is not available. And then I drink it and then pour the last few drops on. So just bringing a deeper sense of connection into those small things. Into when you first say hello to the sun, when you first step onto the earth in the day, when you drink your first water, when you take your first breath with awareness. I mean, these are ways that we can start to remember ourselves despite whatever busyness, despite where we have to be or what we're doing with the day and our constructs and our mental action and activity around it. Just slowing it down and saying hello and inviting in awe, what an amazing thing it is to be alive, to be human, and also to feel in for that that connection. That yes, it is more prevalent in communities that are walking close with the land, but all of us have a shamanic and an indigenous heritage. All of us come from our ancestors who were in conversation with the world, with the allies, with the elements, with the waters and the sky and the plants and the animals. And I know that's so because we're all still here. And it was from those guides, from those helpers, that we are allowed to live and survive in that partnership, in that understanding and the wisdom that they brought to us. So you can invite in without a feeling of lacking that this is part of your heritage too, your human heritage, to be in connection with all these things. And there's no part of you that is denied that. And there's no part of this beautiful earth that you are not connected to. Yeah, there's a lot of wisdom showing up in the chat too. So thank you folks for sharing the way that these show up for you. So much beautiful wisdom in this community. And I'm really honored that so many of you have taken time out on a Saturday to be here with us. So, and I'm really appreciative of the chance to, the invitation from Trisha and Mayumi to come in and share. It's a real delight. And I'd love, as we continue to, as I continue to learn more about these specific pieces, and we continue to do more things with the community, to come and share more. So,
Yeah, thank you. And thank you bringing also these parts about, the indigenous parts of ourselves, wherever we live, that to activate that by taking a bit more slower and connect with the earth and the simplicity of life as well. But also loving your passion to sort of bringing these indigenous peoples and their cultures alive and keeping them alive by your, actions that you're bringing forward. So I think that's really, really beautiful, because as you were mentioning that you were sort of feeling that things will maybe become lost or something like that, and that you see that is quite important right now, right, to really protect that wisdom for generations to come. So yeah,
yeah.
it's really beautiful.
Yeah, and I thank you. And I also really encourage people, in my own languaging, sometimes I think I've stepped out of the idea of preserve and into the idea of perpetuate or continue. The idea that this is something that's old and done, that we're putting on a museum shelf. Instead, I invite you to, yes, we honor what is before and we see it, but we are evolving, and we allow this our perception to evolve as well, both in our own life, but also of the human shamanic practice and our spiritual tradition. So this is something that these are threads that are continuing to being woven in the fabric of the human story. This is not something that's done. So allowing yourself, even if it's like, oh, I might not be allowed to do this or that. And there's certain elements that are, of course, specific to certain families, certain communities, certain traditions. But that doesn't mean that you're not allowed to pick up the parts that are resonant with you, and that you are allowed to be in conversation with Earth, and you are allowed to honor the elements and your allies. And it's there's many communities that are very happy to teach and share their traditions. And so if there's some piece of you that feels separate, then it's a be part of your prayer to invite ways to reweave your own practice into the fabric of our spiritual traditions, our collective spiritual traditions. Thank you for the words in the chat.
Yeah, and beautifully said as well about this weaving part, and seeing all the tapestries and all these crafts as well being woven to each other. And yeah, that's a wonderful, I think, way of saying this as well. And I think people know how they can support you and your organization. And so we will put, of course, all the links as well below the video when it will be released on our YouTube channel. But I also want to give you here some time, because you already put also, of course, a place where people can contact you as well. But if you want to share any of your own offerings that you'd like to share to our audience, then please
Yeah.
feel free.
Thank
So,
you. Yeah, well, my first call to action is the easiest one, and I just put it in the chat, which is just sign up for our newsletter. Like, we'd love to share stories. We'd love to encourage you to stay connected with that way. Of course, for the center, we love donations. For myself personally, I do have a shamanic practice. I work with individuals and groups, both remotely as well as in person here in Texas, and when I travel. I also hold an online voice class, which you've taken, Naomi. It was a joy to have you there, called Your Sacred Voice. I'll offer the next one in the fall. And that's very much around inviting in our voices to be part of our prayers, and especially for our song. And even if you think you're not a singer, there's ways for you to embody that beautiful gift of your healing voice. So a chance to rediscover that. And again, people can connect and get on my newsletter through that. And I just got back from holding a women's retreat in the Sacred Valley in Peru. It was a small group, and we're really focused on our connection with the land. I'll do that again in October. So in-person things are happening around the world, and yeah, it's a joy to stay connected. My main focus is with the center right now, but yeah, I still have a lot of offerings, which I'm happy to share with folks. And I have coming through, if you'd like to receive one of the songs, and this is from the community that I work with, a song of the hummingbird of Picaflor, also Colibri, Cante. And yeah, the community, it's a song that it's become known on different recordings, but the community I work with believe that it was originated with their matriarch Erlinda, who is Enrique's wife, who now blesses the community from a different dimension. But yeah, a beautiful song of the hummingbird, which I'd love to bless us all with. And this song, the medicine of the hummingbird is so powerful. But one of the ways I like to work with hummingbird is with the energy of miracles, and allowing us to step outside our ideas of how things can happen, because the hummingbird can do things no other bird can do. So it invites us to put down our need to figure out and connect with our inspiration and our awe and our wonder and the field of possibilities, and also the invitation to dream into what if. And so that's a place I like to invite your prayer of your heart. What if it all could be peaceful and balanced and harmonious, is some of my prayers. So I'll sing this song as a blessing for the group and for my prayers. Pica florcita con anaina, pica florcita con anaina. Naina, 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 naina. Entre bendiciones, bendiciones de las flores. Entre milagros, medicina, pica florcita. Thank you. Thank you for the chance to share.
Beautiful. I was hoping that you would sing as well. So, thank you.
I love to sing. Always. Las canciones. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And if there's anything else that you want to say, you're happy to. I'm also happy to sort of close with your beautiful song.
Yeah, I feel very full after sharing that. I really appreciate such a beautiful reception. And yeah, many blessings, everyone. May this help energize you in the most perfect way along your own path. And I'm looking forward to connecting with folks more in the future.
So thank you, Mary. It was really, really beautiful to have you here and sharing all those amazing art pieces from all these cultures. It really, yeah, touched my heart to see all of these different cultures, and I really support you and celebrate you in what you're doing. And I hope more communities will be reached out to and will be, collaborating with you. So really a lot of blessings to this all, and to everyone who has been here. Thank you for sharing your time. And for those who are viewing, you can see the recording, of course, and all the links that will have been shared in the chat as well. So you can contact Mary and the organization as well. And yeah, I hope to see you again with our next live events. And I wish you just a wonderful week and weekend. And I hope to see you next time again. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Many blessings. Muchas bendiciones.